have fourth chapter entitled Transcendental Knowledge. What are the four sections of this chapter? PAST. P for position of Krishna. How Krishna is transcendental. That's transcendental knowledge. So that was till 10th verse, which was last verse we studied. And it was quite interesting that just before Janmashtami we got to study those 10 verses. It was quite timely. So there is a saying, coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. So Krishna is intervening in all of your life, but He is not making it obvious that I did it. So it was not ordinary to exactly study those Janma Karma Chame Divyam Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Paritranaya Sadhunam, exactly to study those verses just the day before Janmashtami. That's not an ordinary coincidence, because that really talks about the appearance of Krishna, why He comes, what does He do, what is Avatar, not the movie, our spiritual discussion. So everything we studied right on time. So that was P, position of Krishna. A for applying transcendental knowledge to our work. That's what we are going to begin today. How to apply transcendental knowledge, spiritual knowledge to our day-to-day activities. Then S for how to get transcendental knowledge is through sacrifices, yajna. Sacrifices lead to transcendental knowledge. And then T for transcendental knowledge is glories. Why should we get transcendental knowledge in our life? What is the gain? So Lord Krishna will speak of such glories of transcendental knowledge. What happens to a person when he gets transcendental knowledge? Just to inspire us that we make cultivation of transcendental knowledge a serious business in our life. Imagine an iceberg, half up the water, half down the water, which is not the regular case. It's 1/9 the water and 8/9 the below the water. And this iceberg, you can term it as either your personal life or your family life or your organization. So personal or family or organizational life can be subdivided into 4 parts. The bottommost part is called the purpose. A little above part is called priorities. A little above that is productivity. And a little above that is profits. So typically, this is a way management gurus look at anything, how they are handling their affairs. Now, Bhagavad Gita offers a very interesting understanding of this concept, which we will study today. According to Bhagavad Gita, the purpose of our life is not sense gratification, sense enjoyment. It is not any of the selfish pursuit that we may have, nor are the profits money or prestige or influence over others or scholarship. Those are not the profits. That's how modern management may describe things to be. But Bhagavad Gita offers an interesting understanding. What is the purpose of human life? Can I hear from you? Self-realization. Okay. Service with service attitude. We are all designed for service. What else? Ananda. Anandamayo abhyasat. Interesting. Any other? To realize God. And then do what after realizing Him? look at each other and just service. Okay. So let's call that as Haritoshanam. There is a shloka in Bhagavatam which says Varnashrama acharavata purushena parah puman Vishnuraradhyate pantha na anyat tattosha karanam. Other than pleasing Lord Vishnu, there is no purpose of human life. Other than watering the root of the tree, which will naturally nourish everything else in the tree. So Haritoshanam is very easily effected by strictly following the instructions of our spiritual master. So following instructions of one's spiritual master and thus pleasing the Supreme Lord, Haritoshanam, is called the purpose of one's human mission, human life, according to Bhagavad Gita. Now, the upper two parts are technically called as yajna or sacrifice in Bhagavad Gita. To maintain right priorities in life requires sacrifice, and to be very productive. Every moment we should be fruitful. Have you noticed the tree that becomes non-fruitful decays and dwindles and dies away? So being fruitful, which means meaningfully contributive to others in our service, is called productivity. Being productive. So if we are not maintaining proper priorities, then we suffer internally. And if we are not being productive, we also suffer externally in our life. We become burden. So this is called yajna, and the yajna has two phases. The subtle part of yajna is making right choices moment to moment. Every moment is a choice. You can choose between this or that. And to clearly know our priorities in life and choose accordingly requires some internal sacrifice. Because making one choice means obviously letting go of 10 other choices that you could have taken from. So that's a sacrifice. And the gross part of yajna, this is subtle. It happens in our mind, inside. Externally what we do. So there we have to be productive. Productivity is nothing but it has to do with action. Karma yoga. We have to perform action. We just cannot go on assimilating knowledge and do nothing about it. So that's how productivity is achieved. And then from this yajna that we perform comes the yajna shishta. The remnants of the yajna, as described in Bhagavad Gita, they are of various kinds. One yajna shishta, what is the yajna shishta? Result of performing a good yajna in life. First is santaha. You become a saintly person, yourself. In giving, you become. And this is why self-reformation, character development is a core part of being a Vedic person. You become, that's first fruit of successful yajna performance. The second fruit is muchyante sarva kil vishaihi. One becomes completely freed from all kinds of impurities inside and all kinds of bondage outside. Karmic bondage. Are you with me? Are we going nowhere? Okay. Muchyante sarva kil vishaihi. We become freed from impurities in the heart. Lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion. They are impurities. Freed from them. And we become freed from the karmic bondage coming from outside. There are akala mrityu. Somebody has to die untimely. Or sometimes there is various kinds of bondage, karma bondage that may be coming upon us. That doesn't act on us anymore. That's a fruit of yajna. Even your previous bad karma won't act on you. Even if you have done something wrong. That is the power of yajna shishta. Then another is Amruta Bhujaha. Amruta Bhujaha means you start tasting nectar at every step in your life. You know, when you're driving a car, you taste nectar. When you remove your shoes, in the chappal stand, you taste nectar. When the security guy checks you up and down, you taste nectar. When you come inside the temple hall and sit for the kirtan, you taste nectar. When you come and sit in the class and you hear something, you say nectar. And then prasadam obviously is nectar. And then we have to go and take rest at night thinking of Krishna, you taste nectar. Next day morning you wake up and start taking your bath, nectar. Can you imagine a life like that? Where moment to moment you are joyful in your life because having successfully done your yajna, you are amply rewarded in becoming very joyful in your life. And there is no external cause for it. It's not that you got a lottery or somebody gave you a lot of appreciation. No. You are just being pure joy. In life, one tastes it within. And Yanti Brahma Sanatanam. One goes back home, back to Godhead, to the spiritual world by successfully discharging one's yajna, which means Lord Vishnu is thinking, this person in so many limitations that were in the material world, with all the obnoxious people and situations around him, he was still rendering such a service to me. Remove all this clutter around him. Let him get full-scale facility just to render service. So, that's why we go to spiritual world, because there are no material impediments in rendering service to the Lord. And finally, one gets the audience of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu comes and shakes hand with that guy. Says, well done. What a fellow this person is. Yajno vai Vishnu. In performing yajna, we meet Vishnu in our life. Last time we studied, don't try to see God. Try to serve God in such a way that God would like to come and see you. So that's what exactly happens when you get yajna shishta. Of course, we can go on adding to this. What all happens when a person is tasting nectar in his life. So this is our profits as compared to, the other side of the story. Which one do you prefer? What's your choice? You want this yajna shishta? So, the point is, if you maintain your purpose solidly in life, you will learn your priorities. You will know what to say yes to and what to say no to. You will have no doubts about it in your life. Very clearly you can tell yes or no for this choice. When you maintain your priorities properly, can you become productive? Right? Otherwise you lead a messed up life. When you are productive, naturally you will become a gainer in life. You get fortune. So, I keep talking about this. Our yajna is at 5 levels. There is self-care, there is sadhana or spirituality, then there is family, then there is occupation, then there is service to society. All that is part of our yajna on a day-to-day basis. And we have to become experts in performing these yajnas. Very expert. Under the guidance of a spiritual teacher. So, any comments or questions so far?
Yes.
Yes.
To perform this spiritual life, which you have just now Gita was saying, is being profitable or productive, this material aspect. Without that, how we can achieve that?
Correct. So, one part of our yajna can also be resource management. Resource generation or resource management. Which means, for doing these 5 things, we need material, resources, and to arrange for them is needed so that we can peacefully do these things. So in that context, yes, we all need material facilities so that we can perform spiritual practice. But as we grow in spiritual culture, we factually realize that material things are not needed for practicing my development of relationship with God. But that is a very high stage. That's outside the range of our current curriculum. Syllabus, out of syllabus part hai wo. So we should not bother about that part. There are great devotees who without any material resources have successfully practiced their bhakti, devotional service, beginning with Sudama and Sridhar Kolavecha. And so many, we can go on giving examples of people materially very poverty stricken, no resources, but spiritually very wealthy, super opulent. But that's not for us.
For a common man, while performing yajna, he comes across so many challenges, so many obstacles, that in order to overcome that, he is completely diverted from his attention towards.
Correct.
So how to avoid that particular situation?
Wonderful question. In performing our yajna like Arjuna, we experience battlefield. All of us. So how to tackle that is the question. So there are obstacles or temptations or distractions, mental doubts that can hijack our focus. So we need many things, but three are most important. Number one is a spiritual teacher or a mentor with whom we can consult. So Arjuna consulted with Krishna. He was getting messed up in his priorities of life. He was not being productive because he forgot the purpose. Why to fight in the first place? So Krishna gave him advice. And then this thing became very crystal clear to Arjuna. Nashto moha smrtir labdva. He says, all my doubts are gone. Now I am re-established in my position. Sthitosmi gata sandeha. Karishye vachanam tava. I will do what I say, what you say, Krishna. So that's one part. To find a don who is expert in performing yajna at all levels and become his disciple. Don means devotee of Nandanandan. A person who is master in this field. So that's spiritual master. So that's one thing we should do. Second is we should create a culturally conducive atmosphere around us, so that we don't forget our plan and our focus. We have to have a culturally conducive surrounding also. That facilitates our practicing yajna. I give the example that you are coming to temple now, sitting in this place, thinking about Krishna, studying Bhagavad is quite natural. Because culturally conducive atmosphere. Imagine we had to meet in some discotheque. And I'm shouting and you're hearing, I'm telling you, Bhagavad Gita! Do you know the fourth verse, fourth chapter? And rock music is going on around. We'll have a hard time, focusing. So, culturally conducive atmosphere. We should all become good cultural engineers. Our default setting of objects, people, situations around us, sights, smells, touches, everything, sounds, stimulates our remembrance of Krishna. That is called as cultural engineering. And the third thing we should do is to begin every day with a plan. So we should write down what am I exactly supposed to accomplish in the day today in these dimensions, and have a plan and then have a focus. So without this, even if you have a good teacher, even if you have a nice atmosphere around, we won't go anywhere. So do it with a plan and a focus on a day-to-day basis. Just like a rocket, for its successful launch needs three things. It needs power, then it needs a guidance system, and it needs a destination. Right? So we have to launch ourselves into the day properly with proper power. eaten well, slept well, chanted Hare Krishna well. Power. You need power. And then you have to have guidance system so that आपका कहीं दूसरे ग्रह पर जा रहा है रॉकेट तो कोई बोलने वाला चाहिए कि. And then we also need clear understanding of the destination. What are we headed for? So by studying Bhagavad Gita, we actually get that guidance system and clarity of destination. And by following sadhana, we get power. Okay. So this may sound like a material management seminar or something, but if you come on this side, you will understand Bhagavad Gita has got much more to offer in this dimension. So how many of you are eager for yajna, sacrifice? Great. So with that consensus, we would like to go ahead. The topic is how to apply transcendental knowledge to our day-to-day work. And this is the background we would put for getting into those verses, because then they will make sense to you. Now this verse which we studied just now, I'll recite again. Please repeat after me. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. Translation.
As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Krishna.
Thank you. So, ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajami aham. As you want me to reciprocate with you according to your desires and surrender, exactly that way I will reciprocate. So there are people who go to God with what purpose? Material gain. So Krishna says, if that's what your purpose is, so be it. Some people go to God to get relief from miseries. Artha, they are called. They're materially in great distress. So they go and pray and they say, well, that's my purpose. So be it. Like Gajendra, the elephant who was caught by the crocodile. Artha. And the example of material gain is Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva, the boy, he wanted a kingdom greater than his grandfather, great grandfather. So that is Artharthi. He wanted some material gain. So then there are those who are Jidnyasu. Jidnyasu means who are inquisitive about absolute truth, but not very serious about the knowledge that they gain. Tala idle curiosity, असं म्हणतात. So people have some idle curiosity. ये होता क्या है, वो होता क्या है, ISKCON क्या होता है. So once that desire is fulfilled, they go away. And then there are serious practitioners who are behind absolute truth to realize it and practice it. So they are another category. So accordingly, according to our purpose, Krishna reciprocates with us. So we have to be very careful after we come to Krishna consciousness and we start chanting Hare Krishna. What are we desiring in our heart? There is a saying, beware of your prayers, they might be answered. Mora eya bhilash America deshe diyo vas. So you go and land up there under some boss and you have a hard time, managing your life. You had a nice association, friendly culture, time for practicing spiritual life, and you ask something material and then you land up in a bigger misery afterwards. So we have to be careful when we come to Krishna, especially when we are chanting. We have to be mindful of our desires. After our japa is over, we should tell Krishna, Krishna, whatever other thoughts I made in the japa, cancel them out. Those are not my real desires. I just somehow made them. But they, I want to be your servant. I want to go back to Godhead. I just want to serve you with pure heart. So it's like cancel out all the other stuff. So ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajami aham. The classic example of this is the story in Srimad Bhagavatam of Pururava and Urvashi. Pururava was a great king, and at one point of time when he had gone to the Swarga Loka for some business visit, Urvashi had heard a lot of glories of this earthly king in the court of Indra, and she became attracted to him. He also became attracted to her, and it was decided that they will marry on two conditions. One condition was that Urvashi had said that we are celestials, Swargavasis. We don't eat the kind of foodstuffs that you eat in earth. Maggi, and kurkure, This is none of our business. So she said, my condition is you have to feed me everything in Shuddha ghee, from the cow's ghee. So he said, fine, he was a king, no problem. And second thing she said, I have these lambs, At no point of time you should be unmindful of them. They should be always protected. It's like her pets, So Pururava said, no problem. And third condition she said, and not two, three, that I should never see you naked, other than our courtship. Pururava said, fine. So while enjoying with her for some time, the demigods, especially Indra, was missing Urvashi in Swargaloka. So it is said that he arranged for some devatas to come, and while they were enjoying with each other, the devatas arranged for the lambs to be stolen. And as the lambs started making their sound, Urvashi, very, very insulting words, chubhne wale shabda, she spoke against Pururava. I said, what kind of eunuch you are? You call yourself a king, here is your praja suffering without any protection, you are here enjoying with a woman like me. What's the use of your valor? What kind of kshatriya are you? Immediately this fellow got excited. So he left, from the place where he was, and started chasing behind those devatas to stop them from stealing the lamps. And at that time they shone their light. I don't know what kind of system they had, not batteries and things like that. But so he was naked at that time. And when this was seen by Urvashi, she said, no more now. I am going. Hare Krishna. Not Hare Krishna. She said, I am going now back to Swargaloka. Pururava said, what is this? It's a small discrepancy. It is not a serious issue. No, you broke your promise. I am going. And when Urvashi went back to Swargaloka, Pururava was in a miserable condition. He was in such a miserable condition, missing her, that he went and performed a yajna for Lord Vishnu. Severe penances he performed, tapasya. Finally Vishnu became pleased, and what was the benediction Pururava asked? Can I have association of Urvashi, please? And then it was settled that Urvashi will come and meet him once a year, just for one day. And whole throughout the year, 364 days of the year, this king would be in a pathetical, miserable condition, continuously thinking of, when will I get the opportunity? And while he would be enjoying, he would be thinking, now it is going to get lost. And then it is lost, his lamentation would knew no bounds, He suffered like anything. And every time Urvashi would come, give him paltry enjoyment and go away. And Pururava was a miserable wreck in his life. Many years passed by. One fine day, some transcendental knowledge dawned upon Pururava. He said, what have I done? So next time when she came to enjoy, then whichever year that was, he actually told her a story of how I have been like a goat, simply seeking insignificant sense enjoyment, although being kicked in my face for that enjoyment. And I have decided that I better not get into this business anymore. Then again he performs penance for Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu becomes pleased. And then he goes back home, back to Godhead, to the spiritual world, having perfected his life. So the point in the story is, in the first place also Lord Vishnu had become pleased with him, and he had given him full option. What do you want? He could have chosen not to suffer so long and finished up his business. But sometimes we say, what is that saying in Hindi, that You need some experience before you make right choices. So similarly, we also in our life, we come to temple, we chant Hare Krishna, we do our Janmashtamis, whatever. But our material desires, we still maintain them. We are not ready to give them up. And Krishna is so kind, He allows us to suffer. As long as we maintain those desires, we continue suffering. And we think that is enjoyment. But one fine day it dawns upon us that this is actually not proper for me to do. There was one old lady. She was carrying a huge burden of, firewood on her head. And, she was struggling under it. It was too heavy. And she was in the hot sun walking from the jungle to her home. And at one point of time, that whole burden fell off from her head because she got unbalanced and little chakkar that she got. And when that thing fell off, she became so desperate. Krishna, Rama, Govinda! She loudly shouted, in great pain actually. And seeing her call, which was so intense, Krishna actually appeared before her. He said, "Yes, mother, how may I serve you?" She said, "Will you please help me put that back on my head?" She said. Similarly, we also chant Hare Krishna, do so many things. And Krishna is there. What do you want? Oh, please put the burden of all these materialistic activities back on my head. May they happen this way, may they happen that way, And that's how our life goes on. So Krishna says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajami aham. So it is both ways to be taken. One as a caution, ki not desire mischievously. Another is as encouragement. Because Krishna is telling you, if you approach with a pure motive, in a very short time you will make rapid progress in Krishna consciousness. All that you need to do is to carefully desire what you want. There are these books like, Rhoda Byrne, The Secret. Those guys are talking about this principle, but they are not bringing, they call it cosmic energy, universal, some Y factor, whatever. Here it is. Yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamiham. Even if you are not a Krishna devotee, Krishna still reciprocates with you because he is our Supreme Father. What to speak of if you become a devotee? My God, that's so even more. And then, therefore, we have to make our purpose very pure in our life. So I keep saying this, let's make our purpose pure, self-development, loving relationships with all living beings, and service contribution, meaningful. And let us approach every moment of our life with this mood. May I gain something from this to develop my relationship with Krishna, self-development. May I gain something from this by which I'll build loving bonds, bring people together, and develop trustworthy relationships. And may I do something by which I add value into people's lives with every interaction that I have with them. So if we think in that direction, Krishna will bless us, fulfill our desire. And that is the power of this verse. And then the second part of the shloka, Mama Vartma Anuvartante Manushyaha Partha Sarva. All men follow my path in all respects. Now that's a very misleading statement. If somebody is smoking and drinking, is he following Krishna's path? Krishna says, Manushyaha Partha Sarvashaha. All men follow my path in all respects, at all times. What does he mean? If somebody is a murderer, is he following Krishna's path? What do you mean by that instruction? So long back, long ago and far away, in another millennium of Lord Brahma, we studied the yoga ladder. So yoga ladder, who remembers? Okay. So we start with Karma Kand, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Below Karma Kand is animal life. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending, no higher goal in life. And below animals are Homo sapiens, who are irregulated in their eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Worse than animals. So, when Krishna says Mama Vartma Anuvartante, that means there is only one path. Either that path is leading you towards Krishna or away from Krishna. And every one of the living beings in this universe is situated at some level or the other on that same ladder. So in that context, Krishna is saying Vartma Anuvartante. Everyone is following my path. So even a murderer is following this path but in a wrong direction. He's going ulta. Or somebody who is...
He is not saying that.
He is not saying that means...
You are going away from my thing. Or away from my thought. But
Krishna is saying Anuvartante.
means you are following my thought.
Anuvartante can mean two things. Anu means to follow in the direction of, and Anuvartante also means following the same path which is given but in the opposite direction. Just like we may say, let's say ants. Ants don't have 3D access. They are in 2 dimensions. Everything for them is a 2 dimension. Even the wall, when they start climbing on the wall, it's a 2D for them. So if an ant is given your home address and she arrives there, in her style, because they don't have the access to the 3rd dimension, the same thing that is present there on that same reference point, they cannot access it. So when they may claim that they are going towards your home or they are going away from your home, we will say that they are anuvartante. They are in the right, so to say, lane or in the right path, going as you told, anuvartante. But they have no idea कि मैं पास जा रहा हूँ कि दूर जा रहा हूँ उस व्यक्ति से. So in that way, the ignorant living beings, they think that they are, like there are murderers who used to say that Raman Raghavan, God inspires me from within to kill others.
Is it not the God's will that the end?
God's will is clearly given in Bhagavad Gita. What He wants us to do, what He doesn't want us to do. Open announcements. And when we are not following those instructions, that can apply on negative side also. If somebody is a vicious person and he desires bad things for himself, for others, tam tathaiva bhajami aham. It's God who fulfills that desire also. See, God has 3 roles as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. In the role of Brahman, God is an impersonal energy, law, governing principle, etc. In the form of Paramatma, God is a neutral judge. You did good, you get good. You did bad, you get bad. In the role of Bhagavan, God is a friendly facilitator for elevation in spiritual life. So all are God only. But His role changes. And that's why people have different things that they do, for which they may say that God's will, God told me. No. It's our misuse of free will. What God wants us to do is very clear, given in Bhagavad Gita. Anyways, so why we are studying this verse? How to apply transcendental knowledge to our work? The first thing, set your purpose right. After having gained transcendental knowledge, first thing you must do is to set your purpose right. For all the activities that you might be doing in your life, set your purpose right. Approach Krishna in the right frame of mind. Yes, bro.
Sir, the problem is that the setting the purpose in the right direction, who will guide?
Bhagavad Gita. We are studying Bhagavad Gita for that purpose, no? I and you cannot figure out the mysteries of the creation and the Ganit behind it. But Krishna is Yogeshwara, the master of all mystics. He's putting that Ganit in front of you. Ki ye Ganit hai. So we take that knowledge and then form the purpose. We have already clarified the purpose, by the way. According to Bhagavad Gita, Yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam man manabhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. Very clear instructions. There is no ambiguity. So that's the purpose. We go to the next verse. Text 12. Kangshantaha karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devata kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Translation.
Desire success in future activities and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from creative work in this world.
So here, Krishna earlier talked about Mam Prapadyante, those who surrender to him. And in this shloka he is talking about Yajanta iha devataha. That there are other devatas to whom also a person may go and surrender to. Kshipram. Very quickly they get the results of their material ambitions. Kangshantaha karmanam siddhim. People want perfection of their fruitive work in this world. Kshipram. Very quickly they get those results. Siddhir bhavati. Why? Because the demigods are appointed agents for fulfilling material desires. So typically we all know that we go to Surya for health. Some people go to Hanuman for getting a good wife. Quite a combination to have. He's a brahmachari. Some people go to Kubera for wealth. So these appointed agents of Krishna, 33 crore demigods, are actually like the, in the mall there are those, what they call them? The shopkeepers, shop owners. Somebody is putting a Levi's jeans and somebody is putting a watch and somebody is putting medicines. Outlets, yeah. But they are not the owner of the mall. Franchisee, yes, that's the word. So they are there to, so you want a particular thing, you go to that fellow and you pay the little something and you get that commodity. Right? But owner of the mall is a phenomenon in itself. He is a different person. He hardly enters into the mall. And his kids are never seen loitering in the mall searching for enjoyments. Because everything is abundantly available at home. In the same manner, Krishna and his devotees in the spiritual world, and the mall is like the Brahmanda, in which material world we stay. So devatas are fulfilling our desires and we tend to think that yes, apply kar rahe. But if you go behind the scene, who is even arranging those things to be put up there is the owner. And that is why people generally tend to think Krishna consciousness se result milega ki nahi, pata nahi. Mere material desires fulfill hoenge ki pata nahi. Better go to some devata, quickly get my desires fulfilled. So one may think like that. Now this is wrong when we want to sideline Krishna consciousness. But this could be appropriate if we want Krishna consciousness. For example, gopis went to Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband. Or Rukmini went to Ambika's temple. That means she is a Kshatrani. According to her family tradition, she is going and worshipping Durga. For what? So that all obstacles on her path to get married to Krishna may be removed. Similarly, we may go to a doctor to cure our disease so that we can chant our Hare Krishna next day properly. He is a kind of a demigod. Devata. So if someone says, I am a Krishna conscious devotee, I surrender only to Krishna, I will not go to the doctor. Then what will you tell him? कि आप उस स्तर के भी devotee नहीं हो. You need to go to the doctor. So we may take what we call an intermediate step of expressing our approach towards Krishna. And in that, if we have taken this support for the sake of Krishna consciousness, then that is also within the realm of Krishna consciousness. It is not outside of it. And we should know this. At the same time, we should not be dependent on this shelter. Our dependence is on Krishna. Whether this thing will work or not, Krishna should decide. I had a knee joint effusion, some problem. And when I had that problem, 3 months I was in hospital, 3 months I was on bed. And all the doctors, naturopathy, allopathy, homeopathy, all pathies, whatever were tried, everybody had their own opinion about what has happened. Completely different from each other. Nacha asa vrushiriyasya matam na bhinnam. One fellow has to differ from another fellow for him to be a specialization. And after all that, 3 months I was going through the suffering. Whatever medicines they gave, treatments they offered, nothing happened. I never gave up the effort of taking the treatments, but it didn't work. And after 6 months, as it came, so it went. When the karma, the quota of suffering got over, it went. And then all the doctors jumped to take the credit. They said, मैंने इसको ठीक किया. मैंने बोला नहीं, तुमने नहीं किया, कृष्णा ने ठीक किया. Because it's quite obvious what has happened in the process. So when I felt sick, I did go to the doctors and take the treatments, but I did not discontinue my spiritual practice to Krishna, nor did I think that this doctor is going to cure me. No. I always felt in my heart of hearts, whether this gets cured or not, I have to practice Krishna consciousness, and I will not depend on the doctor's mercy. My dependence is still on Krishna. If Krishna wants to save me, let him save me. If Krishna wants to make me go through the karma, let me go through the karma. In this mood, we should approach the material shelters in our life. Make sense? Thank you. No, this is not what I wanted to say. So therefore, now that we have come to Krishna consciousness, we should not go to Devatas thinking they will do something greater than what Krishna can offer. We should rather think Akama, that is a shloka just before this shloka, in the purport of the previous verse, last verse. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So akama means no material desires, sarva kama means full of material desires, and moksha kama, wanting to get freed from suffering of this world. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. With Tivra Bhakti Yoga, you should worship the Supreme Person, Krishna. So this verse is giving the conclusion to all this discussion that we had so far. Text 13. Please repeat. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidhya kartaram avyayam. Translation.
According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable.
So in this verse, Lord Krishna is urging us to follow Varnashrama system. So Varnashrama system, we had once studied this. Just like in the human body, there is head, hands, belly and legs. So there is Varna for managing social system, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. Brahmana is the head of the society, Kshatriya is the arms of the society that organize and protect. Vaishyas are the belly, they supply resources, and Shudras are the legs, they provide movement to the society. Similarly, there is ashrama, there is sannyasa, vanaprastha, gruhastha, and brahmachari. So this is social life organization, this is personal life organization in Vedic culture. So this is called varna, this is called ashrama. So sannyasis are the vision givers, vanaprasthas are the protectors of families, the elderly people. The grihasthas, they actually supply the other three with their necessities. And brahmachari is a student life, no tension, just study. Nice life. So this is called varnashram. So Krishna is saying chatur varanyam maya srishtam. This system of varnashrama is created by me. Tasya kartaram apimam vidhi. I am the maker of this system, but still vidhi akartaram. Although I made this system, I am not bound by the laws of it. I am not under it. Vidhi akartaram avyayam. I am not limited by this system. So even if Krishna appears in this world, he may go to Sandipani Muni's ashram and live as a brahmachari. Krishna gets married, 16,108 queens. For each of them he has a beautiful palace, 10 sons, 1 daughter from each of them. Quite a family planning. As a grihastha. Accurate, from every one of them. So that no fighting with each other. Ki, isko kam, usko yada, no issues. Proper ganit. And of course Krishna never goes beyond. So, and Krishna, when he appears in the role of any of this, he perfectly performs those duties of varna and ashrama, but he is not bound by those rules and regulations because he is the maker of the system. Just like Bill Gates may set up a system in his company, how the software should be designed and how the protocol with which the employee should work, he is always above that system. He is not supposed to necessarily follow everything. So in this way, chatur varanyam maya srishtam, and the interesting line, guna karma vibhagashaha. So what is the basis of this? Guna and karma. Your qualities and your activities decide who you become in this system. Not your janma, not your birth. Very interesting system. And if we adopt this system in our society, we will all live very peacefully. Currently there is so much chaos in the society because everyone is crossing everyone else. And we are stepping on each other's toes. And there is no system as such in place. There is no brahmachari. Bachelor daddy. Most of the people, by the time they are 14, 15, 16, they have lost their purity. What to speak of till 25, retaining your brahmacharya. And grihasthas, they are not anymore Krishna conscious. They are running after either sense enjoyment or post, position, prestige in the society. Very rarely charitable, very rarely wanting to feed others on their behalf, on their behest. And vanaprasthas, they are still attached to family life. They don't want to quit. They want to ensure that, my son and the grandson and great grandson also follows all the instruction that I give them. And there are no sannyasis also coming from this system. People have no caliber to actually take to renounced order and maintain that. And same here also. This system is not being followed, and that's why the whole society is in chaos. So if we follow Krishna's system and adopt these principles, we can well organize personal and social lives. Now, some people say, oh, this is all bogus. We don't believe in caste system and we want to make a casteless society. Even in the so-called casteless society, let's say you go to a software company, you will still find these 4 varnas there. In the software company, there are those who do fundamental research. They bring an innovation which no one else can do. Then there are those guys who know administration, policy making. They know whom to hire, whom to fire. Then there are those people who deal with accounts, finances, sales, marketing, all that. And then there are those who just can work on some machines and produce something. They don't know any of the other stuff. They can't handle it. So where has the system gone? It is still there. We are caste-based society, so to say, despite all our claim. And these guys do travel in their jet airplanes, and the others who subsequently manage themselves as MDs and whatever levels. And the system continues, but in a perverted form. So each of us should situate ourselves properly in one of the ashramas and in one of the varnas. And we should know clearly what are the do's and don'ts for each of them and live by it. That is called following varnashrama dharma. And this is also elaborated in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This description will come, qualities of brahmanas, activities of brahmanas, etc. So that time we will study elaborately. But in case you are too eager to know ye hota kya hai, so you can go and study 18th chapter. Everything is given in this small booklet, full scale. So chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. So now, what was the first application of transcendental knowledge? Make your purpose clear, pure. Make it Krishna conscious. What was the second application of transcendental knowledge?
Keep the priorities right.
Keep priorities right. In hopes of fulfilling this purpose, don't go to Devatas. Go to Krishna. He will fulfill your desires. Akama sarva kamova. Then, if you want to be productive in society, what should you do? Follow varnashrama system. If you don't follow varnashram, you will be destructive, not productive in society if you don't follow this system. Okay, so these are applications of transcendental knowledge. What an important topic. Now, last verse for the day, text 14. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yo bhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. Translation.
There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands the truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruits of reaction.
Wonderful. You can give the title, Seek to know Krishna. Seek to know Krishna, not just theoretically, but transformationally. Not just theoretically, but transformationally. Seek to know Krishna, not just theoretically, but transformationally. Which means having got this knowledge, there should be transformation. Not just some headweight gain, as they call. Now this shloka answers one of the most crucial arguments raised by the Jains against Krishna. Jains, they believe in karma mimamsa philosophy. Karma mimamsa philosophy means that karma is supreme. God is not supreme. Who is supreme? Karma is supreme. If you do good, you will get good. If you do bad, you will get bad. Doesn't matter who you are. And in that context, they say Krishna is suffering in hell because poor fellow, he committed so much violence in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, so he had to go to hell. This is their version of Krishna's. But Krishna is saying, Janma karma cha me divyam. He is not under law of nature. So here in this shloka, Krishna says, Namam karmani limpanti. Law of karma does not apply on me. Why? Name karma phale spruha. I don't desire to enjoy the fruits of my work. Sometimes you go in the train and there are people who enjoy some cheap enjoyments. There are some those 5 rupees ka, 10 rupees ka, things that come. There are sounds making thing and light throwing things and, you have seen very trinkets which are very cheap. Any of us feel like, ki, "Arey, if I don't buy this, I'll be really missing something in my life." Do you feel like that ever? Like that, Krishna feels about everything of this material world. So people are attracted to the glitter and whatever of this world, and they are running after, 50 rupaye ka 15, 50 rupaye ka 15. Somebody is going around, people are running after him. De, mere ko do. 5 rupaye ka 10, 5 rupaye ka 10. And another 10 fellows are running behind him. And Krishna is watching this game. So what is interesting here? So much. Name karma phale spruha. He is not attracted by such stupid stuff. Why should he get bound by the laws of karma? And sometimes you buy that thing and you later on realize, अरे वो कुछ था ही नहीं उसमें, एक दिन में टूट गया, या इंक बाहर आ गया, या जो भी हो गया, वॉलेट फट गया. So we suffer. So material nature. Maya Devi is like that. 5 रुपए का 10, 5 रुपए का 10 बेचने वाला. I'll tell you one story. Once upon a time, there was a very, very poor man, not getting any job, really suffering in life. Came across an advertisement. There was some circus coming in the town that said 5,000 rupees salary. रहना खाना फुकट. So he said, अरे कुछ है ही नहीं वैसे भी लाइफ में, जाके ज्वाइन कर लेते हैं. So he went there and he joined the circus. What happened? The circus owner told him that the bhalu, the bear that was working earlier in the circus, he died. So अभी suddenly कहाँ से भालू लाने का हमारे शो के लिए? तो we have decided that खाल जो है ना उसका निकाला है, you have to wear that and do the drama of being a bhalu in the circus. So he thought for a while, एक तो stinky खाल उसको कौन ओढ़ेगा, उसके अंदर रह के फिर उसको उछल कूद करके दिखाना है लोगों को वो भी. But he said, पापी पेट का सवाल है, कुछ तो जॉब मिल रहा है, कर ही लेते. He said, all right, no problem. So he got into that job. And in the day when he was actually doing so to say, the show, the item in the circus, suddenly the tigers, this pinjade, that got opened. And the tiger just came out and jumped on him, full speed. And this fellow was about to shout loudly in human voice, of course. And the tiger उसके जबड़े के ऊपर हाथ डाल के उसको बंद किया, बोला चुप बैठ, मैं भी 5,000 का नौकरी करने वाला हूँ. चिल्लाएगा तो दोनों की नौकरी चली जाएगी. So, can you guess what is the purport of this story? In this world, whether you are a prime minister or a pauper on the street, everybody is an item maker on behalf of Maya. माया वो सर्कस ओनर है और उसने सबको काम पे लगाया है. Everybody is doing 5,000 का नौकरी कर रहे हो. Which means the quantum of pleasure that you get in the material world, whether you are in a dog's body, human body, demigod body, is same. सबका तनख्वाह उतना ही है. And everybody is very seriously playing their role, thinking that others should not. Because Jiva is pure, na, Satchidananda. और वो खाल ओढ़ के, ये मटेरियल बॉडी का खाल ओढ़ के उसने एक रोल अश्यूम कर लिया अभी. आई एम मैन, आई एम वुमन, आई एम दिस, आई एम दैट. एंड इज गोइंग अराउंड डूइंग हिज ड्रामा. आई एम द कंपनी ओनर, आई एम द कंपनी सर्वेंट, आई एम प्राइम मिनिस्टर, आई एम दिस, आई एम दैट. बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे, Maya is only having good time from all these cartoons, that are going on around. So therefore, for Krishna, there is no such a problem. Name karma phale spruha. He doesn't desire this 5,000 ka nokri. And iti mam yo abhijanati. If you know Krishna like this, karma bhir nasa badhyate. You will also not be bound by law of karma while you act in your varnashram. What a blessing. Just to know that Krishna is not bound by law of karma, you also become freed from law of karma. And this is why transcendental knowledge in action means 3 things: remembrance, affection, and service to Krishna. Everything we do in our life, we have to remember Krishna. But how? with love and render whatever we are doing as a service to Him. So be it as a simple act of making jhadu in the home, or be as a simple act as driving a car. So we don't have to be doing great things, but we have to do small things with great love. That is called Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much.